Session 3 of the Hakdama of the Mesilas Yesharim. Re'ei, see, ki ein dibri chasidus v'inyanei yir v'ava v'tara slave dvar mutbayim b'adam. These things, chasid, this is a super important chapter coming up, and we'll try to balance it out with things we do here, and hopefully we'll get to the truth. Re'ei dibri chasidus, real true avodas Hashem, v'inyanei hayira, and the topics of fearing Hashem, v'ava and loving Hashem, v'tara slave and the purity of the heart. Not things which are mudboim. They're not things which are naturally in our hearts. Until you don't need means. Emtsoim are means. Right? For those in Israel, amlach means emtsei lechima, right? War apparatus. We captured from Hezbollah amlach. That's emtsoim. Actually, it's stark emtsoim liknosam. Eliyimtzu osam b'nei adam ba'atzmam, and you'll just find it. As we find all of our natural movements, keshena, vayikitza, like waking up, right? No one has to tell you fall asleep. Yikitza, no one has to tell you wake up. One person naturally wakes up. Person naturally goes to sleep. Harav vaso. Why do I feel? Let me program myself to feel hungry. Let me program myself to feel full. Right? No, those are natural things. All the other things which are set in our natures. Elevade, so that's what, listen carefully, that's what Avodah Hashem is not. It's not like those things. Elevade shetzrichim him lemtsoyim. We need means, ultachbulos, strategies. Very important word. We're going to talk about that more when Rabbeim talks about it more. Hold on with us. Strategy, so important. We have forgotten to strategize in Avodah Hashem. We have forgotten to use our minds to think ourselves before asking an Eitzah, before running to a Rav, before running to a Rebbetzin. The answer is in you. You need tachbulos to fix your midos, tachbulos to make the right moves, strategies. Liknodotam. V'livatzor gam he mafsidim lehem. Sharchiku min adam. And yivatzor means it, and they won't be held back from a person things which cause us specifically to be further and further away from the person. V'liyachzor drachim laharchik mafsidim. There are also ways to push away the drachim. Push away the mafsida, push away the things which make it hard for us. So here's the point. Let's just imagine one thing. Avos Hashem. Avos Hashem is not naturally in us in a way that we don't have to work for it. Rather, we do have to work for it. And there are many things which will push us away from Avos Hashem. And there are things which will push away the things which push us away. But we have to think about the whole topic. We have to be in the topic, and we have to be on the topic, and we have to be strategizing and planning and maneuvering to get there. Im kain, efo, how could it be that we won't take time on this? So how can someone sit back and say, you know what, Avos Hashem will just naturally happen. Years Hashem will naturally happen. Tikkun Midas will naturally happen. Taras Alev will naturally happen. Where will this wisdom come in the heart of a person if he doesn't desire it? Okay, so that was the paragraph. Now the comment I want to make is, you might have heard many times, and I hope you have heard, that Avos Hashem is something that's in us. And it is something natural. So the Chasidus are full of this, and we have a Yerusha from the Avos, Avram Avinu put into us all the good things, like the Chaim Volozhin writes in Ruach Chaim. Why does the Yid suddenly mitorer to come to Eretz Yisrael, sitting in Odessa, and why is a person ready to be Moser Nefesh and to sacrifice a child? Where did that come from? They came from the Avos. See, here's the point. I think we have to be omid on the diak, a simple diak in his words. They're not, listen to the words, Ein these things, mudbayim ba'adam, actually tzarcham tzarcham liknosam, means they're not so natural in us that we don't need tzarcham liknosam. They are natural in us, but they're not so natural that we don't need things to get to them. I think that's the diak. He doesn't mean to say it's not in you at all. He means it's not in you enough. It's not naturally a part of you. You don't need tzarcham liknosam, but you need tzarcham. And if we all think about our situation, let's put the svarim aside for a second. Of course we understand that's true, right? You look at a Yid, you say like, oh, he naturally has Avos Hashem in him. It doesn't look like it. I mean, he's running around after a lot of other things. It doesn't look like he's running after the Eibishter. I mean, I don't see it, right? You take a secular Jew living the good life and running around and doing things that we would never think about, etc. Where's Avos Hashem? It's in, no. It is deep in him, for sure. And Svarim emphasized that, and it is important to know that. And we've all heard that, we've all seen that video, and we've all heard that message, that any Yid, etc., Chule has carved to the Melech. You're right. But the whole point of the Mesilas Yesharim is that it's not enough just to sit on that fact that you have a natural Yerusha, right? Just like someone who's a phenomenal ball player. I'm just giving another sports marshal, right? Anybody in the sense of sport, there are people incredibly naturally talented, but the greatest are only the person who really worked hard. And if you look at the greatest in all the sports, they'll tell you, they had humility and they practiced, and they came early to practice, etc., and all different levels in between. What do you mean? But you were a natural. A lot of the naturals didn't have the drive or the push or the desire to become, all Hall of Famers, and amongst Hall of Famers to become the pantheon of sports greats, etc. So we understand that in our natural life. So it's the same thing in Avodas Hashem. Of course. Yeres Hashem is deeply in the Bria, and it is in us. And Avos Hashem is in us. And so many things that Avos gave to us. But that's our natural work. But the words of Mesilas scream out to still, and I'll try to put it all together, that it still means you have to work to reveal those things, right? If you might have the Jewish heart is on fire for the Rebbeinu Shalom. And Yisheni V'libi air. My heart is a burning, even when I'm sleeping. But you're sleeping, Libi air. But Atay Yishena, you're sleeping. Your heart is awake. You got to wake up your body to let your heart get through. You have to let your heart get through, and that's why we see the beauty of the Jewish people. I was so happy that I predicted, which I'm sure many others did also, that when the Chatufim would be in the tunnels of Hashem Yirachim, and they should all be out. If they're not out, hopefully they're out by the time you'll hear this. But as I speak, that they're not yet out, all of them, still 50, whatever the number is exactly, 58, 53, two different cheshbonot, Hashem Yirachim. But I said for sure that you're going to see Hisaurus. And I wrote it in the tefillah that I wrote. And Baruch Hashem, so many stories came out. For sure, when you squeeze a yid, you'll see the Emunah, Derech Emunah B'charti. Such beautiful stories. People who were totally far away from Yiddishkeit. And then being miskarev in such an open mufla, in a wondrous way, in the worst positions. That's what a yid is. You're right. But now let's take a step back. But Rebbeinu Shalom, we don't have to wait till we're in a tunnel. That's not the Tachlis Abriya that we said. That's Mitzias is something that's given to us from the Rebbeinu Shalom and from the Avos, and some of us from our parents. Tzaddik is Paul, changes in his zera. Tzaddik makes a different genetics. We have the genetics of the Avos, and you have the genetics of some holy Bobby and Zaidi back there, etc. For sure, definitely. And Gary Tzedek have their connections. But we have to bring it out. And if we don't work, we're not going to bring it out. This is the message of Mesilas Yesharim. So it's there, but not to the extent that we don't have to work on it. That's the drive, and that's the point of Mesilas Yesharim. Let's go a little further. And since every chacham knows, now each of these terms is a little bit different, but I think it's not so important at this stage to get into the exactness of each one. Tmimus avoda means the complete avoda, being over in a complete way with full kavanah of a chovas taharos v'nikyona, and the necessity of tahara, of it being pure and cleansed, nikyona is cleanliness. Shazulas ein nirtzas vade klal. This is a hard line. If your avoda isn't pure, it's not desired. Now it's hard for me to read these words. Elanim eses mutueves. It's like disgusting, and it's a toeva. Right, we know that toeva is not a good word. Ki chol levavos dar Hashem. Kadosh Baruch Hu looks into our hearts. V'chol yetzer machshavos humeivin. Right. So this is a very strong line because it makes it sound like if you're not being over the Shema, you should close the Sefer. So here is one of the times I'll tell you that's why it's important to not just learn Svarim, but to be in touch with people of the time. I'm not really right for such a thing, but I'll share what I think, and everybody should have their middlemen. And we'll see this here, and we'll see in other places, that there are ideas which the Svarim say about a certain way, but it's too much for our generation. I speak to a klal, right? The Yechidim were way past me, and way past anything I can even teach, etc. I'm not talking to them. God bless them, right? God bless them. But But for us, that's too strong a message, right? Just to say, if my avoda isn't 100% clean, it's disgusting. It's mutuevas. It's important for us to have in the back of our minds that line in Mesilas Yesharim, which should push us. I want to be more lishma, more lishma, more lishma. But if we're going to go into an attitude, I'm not going to daven until, I'm not going to get stuck until, I'm not going to learn until, I'm not going to, etc. Until, we won't get anywhere. We'll just be miyuash. Okay, so that's the difficulty in learning Svarim sometimes, that we have to live with the strength of the line. It's not, don't think you can run to Chassidus and you can avoid it. I always say, I can show you many places where the Tanya is more chomor than the Mesilas Yesharim. Maybe as we go through, we'll show some places. But I'll just maybe you just read certain types of Svarim in English, etc. You'll be okay. They'll make you feel good all day. But when you open up and you start to see the world, there are scarier concepts, and there are concepts, but you need to know how to weigh them. So this, I feel confident saying that it's something you have to know, that Rabbeinu said, if my avoda isn't tahor and nikayon, it's not desirous, right? And it's nemesis mutuevas. But that's on one level. That's one place in the heart to hold that idea. But we must hold, on the other hand, but Baruch Hashem, we keep pushing forward, being, Shivrei Kalim, not being complete, and Kadosh Baruch Hu loves our avoda. The Tzaddik Reb Tzvi Meyer, I never, ever, 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 I've read hundreds of pages of Tzvi Meyer. I've never, ever heard him say this line. I've never heard him say this type of thing. I don't remember, but I think it would have made an impression on me. And I hear him always say that every movement we make today is so chashuv, and it's a very, very difficult door, and it's a difficult time, and it's so chavav to the Baruch Shalom, any movement we make towards him, etc. So I think that's more the message we need to hear. Okay, so that's enough of that. But we're learning Mesilas Yesharim. We have to hear what he says. Though the heart, Kadosh Baruch Hu, is dorish, the chol yitzim machshavos hu mevin, ma nene b'yom tochacha. What will he answer in the day of tochacha, in the day of rebuke? If we have been weak, if we've left something which is so necessary for us, so important to us, so much placed on us. Is it possible we'll just spend our time on chakiris that we don't have? Chakiris means like delving into things. We'll delve into things. And pilpulim that don't make a difference in halacha. We'll learn, it sounds like he's saying we'll learn Taurus or Kachim or Zroim. Zroim is no gay, but we'll learn Taurus and things like that aren't shaykh to us. And what we need to chova rabba, to the Rebbeinu Shalom, nazveo lehergel, we'll leave it just to second-handedness, to hergel is habit. We'll leave it just to be. So again, here also we have to tone it down a little bit, because it sounds like he's putting down learning, right? So that's for sure not our way. From Rabbi Seina, from Rabbi Volozhner, and Derech HaYeshivas for sure, is we spend a lot of time on Chakir Ashelot Chayavnu Behem, and on Dinim, etc. And of course, there is a place of learning Halach L'Maisa, but Yeshivas Kedoshas L'Mineihem, right? Don't necessarily learn Halach L'Maisa, and there are many, many reasons for it. So the idea is, when I'm really Mesilas Yesharim, I see myself, my job again is to speak and explain what he says, and try, where I feel confident, to show where we go a little different than that. And you're holding both truths, I believe. And the both truths are, our derech today is Torah Lishma, and of course there's a place for Allah L'Mais, but there's a place also, any Yid that learns Daf Yomi is Kodesh Kedashim today, and Kol Shekin someone is learning and being Mamik and Iyun and etc. The message, the Iker message for us to take out though, here is this: we must be spending time also on those other halakim, right? If someone hears this and says, "Oh, good, here's a Mesilas Yesharim, I have 45 minutes a day, no more Daf Yomi," right? Which I'm learning well, and if you're just, if the Daf Yomi is just going in one ear and out the other, you're not even learning, you're not engaged in it. Okay, that's something else. But a person's engaged in 45 minutes, phone's off, and he's engaged in Daf Yomi 45 minutes, and he's trying, and he's being mitamek that. Kolshkin, someone's learning Ian for an hour or two a day, etc. And he says, "Oh, Mesilas Yesharim said, I'm just missing the whole point." That's not that's certainly what schoolmakers come here to say. Definitely not. And I don't think the Rabosai or my understanding of how the Gedolim look at things are like that. Elo what? But the driving message that we do have to take is to take our Avodas Hashem seriously, to take these topics of Yiras Hashem seriously, and Avos Hashem seriously. And taking it seriously means finding time and methods and means for that also. Right? How do we put those two things together? That's a personal question. Right? It means if I'm spending 5 hours learning Daf Yomi a week, I spend 1 hour in this, or if it's 5 hours and a half hour, 45 minutes. But it means that a serious Yid doesn't stop with learning. He makes sure to find time to think about his avodas Hashem, to focus on his avodas Hashem, to attach himself to people who are into avodas Hashem, a Rabbeim, things like that. I think that's the balance. Don't, again, I'm repeating myself just because it's an important thing. You can sense the tension in me, because on the one hand, I want to teach Mesilas Yesharim, and my job is to give over what he's giving, but my job is also to be mita'emet, lefi me'ed sichli, me'ed erki, to anyone who thinks it's worthwhile listening, and that's the job of balancing Sfarim. We'll see many examples of that. Places where I feel confident, places where here I do feel confident saying that he's really, he put down two things. He put down, seemed to put down yeshivish learning. He seemed to put down someone who's not totally Shem Shemayim. But if we just go with his strength, it's Lo Matzi Yadeinu Raglenu, and there are other Svarim that have opened up drachim in these topics, and the Derech Olam seems to be out that way. So we're just canceling now. It's cancel culture with Mesilas Yesharim. God forbid, Hashem Yirachim. We have to hear the tone of what he's saying and the cry of what he's saying with our kalim, with our derech, in a way that's significant to us, and that is that we are convey ourselves to these topics in a strong way, in a good way, in a meaningful way, in a significant way. Just like if you'll ask kashas on a hakir and kachim, ask kashas on Yiras Hashem. If you have time to go to a shir in Tarus, find a musar shmuz which you like, which you go into, etc. Okay, so I hope we've been Yara Derech, which is true and applicable, B'siyad D'Shmaya, and haven't said anything correctly. And if anybody has questions, you could ask the personal Rav. All the best.